Everyone, I'm Major Garrett in Washington. Welcome to America Decides. We start with breaking news on many fronts. President-elect Trump continues to build his incoming administration. Late this afternoon, he made a very surprising announcement, saying he intends to nominate Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz as his Attorney General. CBS News has also projected Republicans will retain their majority in the United States House of Representatives. We estimate that the GOP will win a minimum of 218 seats. This comes as President-elect Trump returned to the nation's capital today for two meetings. Trump's first stop, Capitol Hill, where he addressed House Republicans.
We won that, and we won it every way, all 7 swing states by a lot. And then Michigan was great, couldn't be better.
Also, Republican senators elected John Thune to be the next Senate Majority Leader via secret ballot. Thune takes over after Mitch McConnell's 17-year run in that position. Today, Speaker Mike Johnson won the GOP nomination to remain Speaker. An official vote on that will come in January when the new Congress is sworn in. Trump traveled from Capitol Hill to the White House and a meeting with the man who ousted him nearly 4 years ago, President Biden. The two sat down in the Oval Office for a ceremonial meeting, which, of course, then President Trump denied President-elect Biden back in 2020.
Politics is tough, and it's, in many cases, not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate it very much.
I want to be joined by my colleagues now, Fin Gómez and Ed O'Keefe and Scott MacFarlane. Scott, with your indulgence, please stand by there on Capitol Hill. I want to talk to Fin and Ed for a moment, and we'll get to you in due course. Fin, I want to talk to you about this Matt Gaetz announcement. I was on the phone with someone very close to the president-elect, been in the Trump inner circle for many, many years. That person, utterly stunned by the Gaetz announcement, could not believe it. Wanted me to read it over the phone to this person twice, just so I could be sure.
Yeah.
Have you encountered a similar, if not astonishment, surprise?
Yes. In a word, yes. First with the Pete Hegseth, of course, his pick for
Defense Secretary
for DOD, yes, and now but Matt Gaetz, the reaction that I've seen almost universally has been shock, stunned, silence, and then just some trying to rationalize like what it means politically and what the steps are. I did speak, Major, to a former senior DOJ official under the first Trump term who said that Matt Gaetz has no business running DOJ. Is he even a lawyer? But then said it's much better, and this is their words, much better a buffoon running DOJ than, let's say, Ken Paxton, who could be the next pick if let's say, this one.
Ken Paxton, the current Attorney General in the state of Texas.
Right, correct.
Ed O'Keefe, it was a busy day at the White House. It was a day where the president, the sitting president, extended a ritualistic courtesy and an important transitional note of cooperation to President-elect Trump. How did it all go down?
Well, first, to your question about the shock, there is some shock. But I talked to somebody again today who said, I think what's important to remember here is the president's trying to not only reward loyalists, but reward his base. He promised to be disruptive. He promised to make some big changes across the federal government. Matt Gaetz is the latest to embody that. Whether or not he ever gets confirmed, whether or not it's through a recess appointment, doesn't matter. He's trying to demonstrate to his base and to those closest to him that were with him all the way that he's trying to make good on these promises. 60-some-odd days to go, however, until Inauguration Day. Let's see if this stands. Now, what transpired here today at the White House is in keeping with the tradition that presidents like to try to maintain as they pass power from one to the next. And today, President Biden afforded a courtesy to President Trump that President Trump didn't afford to then President-elect Biden 4 years ago when he was still disputing the results of the 2020 election. What today's meeting was about was essentially launching what the Biden administration and what Trump signaled would like to be a seamless transition, one that has the two sides talking over the course of the next several weeks leading up to Inauguration Day. What we're waiting to hear is when or if the Trump team signs the sort of formal and legal memoranda of understanding that's required to allow Trump transition leaders to go into the different departments and agencies and start figuring out what's been going on and what they might want to do instead. That hasn't happened yet, according to the White House. Trump team has not signaled that they've done it yet. but there have been some that have publicly said they want to do this. We know it was a meeting that lasted just under 2 hours, mostly in and around the Oval Office, just the two of them, plus their chiefs of staff, Jeff Zients, the current chief of staff, Susie Wiles, the incoming chief, and it covered a host of domestic and congressional issues plus national security, Ukraine and the Middle East especially. In an interview with the New York Post this afternoon, Trump confirmed they spoke about Ukraine. He asked Biden for his opinions on the Middle East, and as Trump said, he graciously shared them. So a good sign, at least to the public here in this country and around the world, that a peaceful and hopefully successfully seamless transition is underway, Major.
And Ed, I want to burrow down just a bit on what you mentioned about that memorandum of understanding, because as I understand it, and my recollection is that carries with it some ethical obligations, some sort of fair play obligations of the incoming administration to abide by. And if it's unsigned, it makes this much more difficult, does it not?
Yeah, there's the elements about the entity that sort of oversees it all, but also some individual ones when it comes to who can get into departments to start looking over the books and whatnot. So we'll see what kind of legal framework eventually defines this and to what extent Trump officials are allowed to go into these agencies. We've been hearing from rank and file and others at these departments who are anticipating those visits and wondering what will ultimately happen, but that happens every 4 years if the rule book is followed. So far, though, again, no sign that those agreements have been signed.
Fin, you heard Ed O'Keefe refer to the shock effect of this Gaetz announcement and the Trump base probably being enthusiastic about that. Do you think this is a long-term commitment from President-elect Trump to Matt Gaetz, or if this gets really dicey in the Senate? Senate Republicans asked immediately after the announcement were a little hesitant about this. Do you think he goes to the mattresses, to use a phrase, for Matt Gaetz?
I think what we saw today with the election of Senator Thune to that leadership position shows that there is an independence there that body does have, especially with the influence and the pushing that you may see from the White House and from the president-elect. I think if there is turbulence to land Matt Gaetz, it could be something where the president-elect could perhaps pull the escape hatch lever and maybe get someone else who might be less controversial and maybe more sure to get in and land that nomination.
Details to come. Fin Gómez, Ed O'Keefe at the White House, thank you very much. I want to go to Scott MacFarlane. As promised, Scott, a very busy day on Capitol Hill. That's putting it mildly. What have you heard in the last couple of hours as these shockwave announcements have rippled through the Capitol?
Oh, there's a reason they call them provocative picks, Major, because they do provoke quite a response. There's been this pattern of equivocating, somewhat muddled responses to the Gaetz choice by Senate Republicans. They've used the phrase interesting or not on my bingo card, but nothing demonstrative or declarative about how they're going to project forward the pathway for a Matt Gaetz confirmation. But John Thune, as he was chosen by secret ballot, closed-door election, the next Senate Republican leader, told reporters he is going to have a confirmation process, that the Senate's not going to surrender that power unilaterally. And a confirmation hearing for some of these nominees could be quite colorful. Before we explain the reaction from Democrats, let's hear more from John Thune on this historic day, the first time in 18 years Senate Republicans have picked a leader who's not Mitch McConnell.
And this Republican team is united. We are on one team. We are excited to reclaim the majority and to get to work with our colleagues in the House to enact President Trump's agenda. We have a mandate from the American people, a mandate not only to clean up the mess left by the Biden-Harris-Schumer agenda, but also to deliver on President Trump's priorities.
Now let's talk about the reaction from Democrats. A couple of them are pretty telling. I was with Chris Coons shortly after the announcement was made, relayed some of the information to Senator Coons, and he was insistent that this was a joke, that we weren't being serious. We had to convince him by showing him some of the news articles. Senator Peter Welch of Vermont, who has championed his good relationships on both sides, says Donald Trump does get the benefit of the doubt on his nominees, but not a blank check. And Senator Welch told CBS News Trump is already testing the bounds this quickly.
Scott, any reaction to Tulsi Gabbard? Tulsi Gabbard, a former member of the House of Representatives, Democrat from Hawaii, raised a lot of eyebrows in 2017 when she met with Bashar al-Assad in Syria. And Russia and Iran were proxies backing Assad in that civil war. Do you think has there been any reaction on Capitol Hill to her announcement, or the announcement from President-elect Trump, rather, that he intends to nominate her as Director of National Intelligence?
I think there already is going to be some reservations expressed by Democrats on that. That's no surprise. But what's most telling, and perhaps fits the form more than anything, is President-elect Trump sandwiching that in between Marco Rubio and Matt Gaetz. Marco Rubio is going to steal a lot of attention in the U.S. Senate with bipartisan support from his colleagues with whom he has equity. Matt Gaetz is capturing attention for any number of reasons. So Tulsi Gabbard somehow sinks below the radar, either strategically or by happenstance in this sequence of events.
Scott, how about this Department of Government Efficiency? Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm going to guess House Republicans in particular are excited about the prospect of this.
Especially if they don't have to fund it. If this is something that comes free of charge, I think the Congress is going to be just fine with things they don't have to pay for. There were any number of Democrats, as you could have predicted, dunking on this, saying, how do you have an efficiency board with two different people running it? Put that aside for a moment. Republicans gave Elon Musk a standing ovation today when Trump appeared before the House Republican Conference. That should give you an indication of their thoughts on Elon Musk and how much they will champion whatever he does with this Department of Governmental streamlining.
Scott MacFarlane on Capitol Hill for us. Thank you very, very much.